Something about the history of Australia. The first people in Australia were the Aborigines, who came more than 40,000 years ago. Then, in 1770, the British sailor Captain James Cook landed with his ship the Endeavour and on the east coast. He saw that the east coast was fertile and suitable for settlement and claimed it for the British crown. After America became independent in 1776, Britain has nowhere to send its prisoners. Prisons were overcrowded, and the British government wanted to develop Australia as a penal colony. That's why most of the first Europeans that lived in Australia were criminals. When gold was found in the middle of the 19th century, thousands of other people also came to Australia. They come nearly from everywhere. They came from New Zealand, China, the USA, and Britain, of course. In 1901, the 6 American states became one country. After the Second World War, in 1954, also other Europeans came to Australia. Today, Australia sees its future with people from the East and the Pacific, like Japan, the USA, rather than with European countries. Now I'm talking to you some facts of Australia. Australia is very big. Australia is the only country occupying a whole continent. With its 7.7 million square kilometers, it is 90 times larger than Austria and the 6th largest country in the world, after Russia, Canada, China, the United States, and Brazil. Australia has a coastline with beautiful beaches and dramatic cliffs, which is about 40,000 kilometers long. It is bounded by the Pacific Ocean on the east, and on the west it is bounded from the Indian and the Indian Ocean to the west. Then Australia is also very old. It is the oldest landmass on the world, because over 150 million years ago it broke away from the supercontinent named Gondwana. Then Australia is also very flat. It is the flattest of all continents. The highest point in Australia is only 2,200 meters high, and it is in the Australian Alps. Australia is hot and dry too. It is the driest continent. 2/3 of Australia is desert, with hills and big salt lakes. Because of that, Australia is very empty. More than 80% of Australians' population live along the coast. Only a few live in the hot, flat and dry inland region, which is called the outback. It's a land of red dust, empty spaces and strange wildlife. It is one of the loneliest areas in the world. The outback is also well known for its red color, which it gets from the iron oxide in it. Australia has only 20 million inhabitants, and most of them live in the south and the southeast, where the big cities are. The largest and oldest city in Australia is Sydney, which is also the best known city. Sydney is also very popular because of its 2 landmarks, the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Sydney Opera House. The Sydney Opera House is near the harbour and is Australia's most visited tourist site. It's the world's most celebrated new building, and also one of the world's most famous building at all. It was designed by the Danish architect Johan Utzon. And the other famous landmark is the Sydney Harbour Bridge. The Sydney Harbour Bridge is also nicknamed the Coat Hanger. Its spectacular arc is the biggest steel arc in the world. And there's another big city in Australia, and that is Melbourne, which is Sydney's southern rival. Melbourne is one of the most international places on earth because a quarter from the people which live in Australia were born overseas. However, the city's different cultures and classes, they live relative harmony. That's why Melbourne is one of the most livable cities on the world. There's also another city called Canberra, which is the newest city of all. The city is smaller than Sydney and Melbourne, but it's the capital city of Australia. Canberra is the city between the two rivals, Melbourne and Sydney. And there's only one big city in the north, which is called Darwin. The official language in Australia is English. But in Australia you can see also many other extraordinary things which you can't see anywhere else in the world. You can see extraordinary animals that only live in Australia. These animals only live in Australia because Australia was isolated for more than 55 million years. The two groups which you can't find in Australia that are the marsupials and the egg-laying mammals. The female marsupial carry their babies in a pouch. The most famous marsupials are the kangaroo, the wombat and the koala. And the most famous egg-laying mammals is the echidna and the platypus. But in Australia there are also a lot of other things that you must have seen. Not only beautiful cities. One of them is the Ayers Rock or the Great Barrier Reef. I haven't been in Australia yet, but I want to go there one time because it's a fascinating country for me. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed my presentation.